Welcome back. My name is Markus Wesaw, and I will be your facilitator for this third part in the series presentation entitled, What is OSHA? An Introduction to Health and Safety. If you have any questions regarding this material, feel at liberty to contact me using the information provided on your screen. It is important that each participant understands the limitations of OSHA and how the agency operates. OSHA maintains jurisdiction over only the employer-employee relationship. This is the ultimate test in determining whether or not any state or federal OSHA program will have jurisdiction. In my personal experience, I have observed countless occasions where self-employed individuals have been cited by OSHA, and in many cases fines and citations were paid because of the lack of this knowledge. At this point, though, I am not arguing whether the self-employed individuals were working unsafely or breaking any safety or health regulations, but rather to the point that OSHA lacked the appropriate jurisdiction to issue a monetary penalty. The following groups do not come under OSHA's coverage: the self-employed, immediate members of farming families not employing outside workers, mine workers, certain truckers and transportation workers, and atomic energy workers who are covered by other federal agencies, public employees, and local governments, although some states have their own plans that cover these workers. Now that we have the appropriate background on this issue, let's go through the OSHA coverage activity listed on your screen. The first scenario is a bit tricky since there is an employer-employee relationship. However, OSHA would not have jurisdiction, but another agency known as the Mining Safety and Health Administration, or MSHA, would have jurisdiction. This is a bit of a trick question. The second scenario is a definitive yes, because Adrian Smith is an employee working for an employer. The third scenario is a no, because the accountant is self-employed. The fourth scenario involves a carpenter working for an employer whereby the employee-employer relationship is present, so OSHA would have jurisdiction here as well. Now that you know more about OSHA, let's talk about OSHA's mission. The mission of OSHA is to save lives, prevent injuries, and protect the health of America's workers. To achieve this, federal and state governments work together with more than 100 million working men and women and 8 million employers. Some of the things OSHA does to carry out its mission are: develop job safety and health standards and enforce them through worksite inspections, maintain a reporting and record-keeping system to keep track of job-related injuries and illnesses, and provide training programs to increase knowledge about occupational safety and health. OSHA also assists the states in their efforts to assure safe and healthful working conditions through OSHA-approved job safety and health programs operated by individual states. State plans are OSHA-approved job safety and health programs operated by individual states instead of federal OSHA. States with approved plans cover most private sector employees, as well as state and local government workers within the state. State plan programs respond to accidents and employee complaints and conduct unannounced inspections, just like federal OSHA. And some states have OSHA-approved plans that cover only state and local government workers. Take a brief moment and ask yourself why OSHA is necessary. What is OSHA's mission, and is it effective? Should it be revised? Why do you think training is important for employees, and how does that tie in with safety and health? Get your mind wrapped around these very important questions and try to increase your awareness, not only about your own health and safety, but about the agency that is OSHA. As we have discussed already, the Occupational Health and Safety Act of 1970 changed America significantly by incorporating and enforcing safety and health regulations for employees. Employees have several rights under this act, and it is important for every employee to understand how these rights impact workers and the workplace. Employees have a right to the following: a safe and healthy workplace, information about hazardous chemicals used in the workplace, information about injuries and illnesses in the workplace, to complain or request that a hazard is corrected or abated in the workplace, training, access to medical records and hazard exposure records, file a complaint with OSHA, participate in an OSHA inspection, be free from retaliation for exercising any of these rights. These very basic rights are entitled to every employee, and OSHA does ensure that employee rights are not infringed upon unfairly. Please refer to handout number 2 at this time, in which you are provided with a copy of the OSHA poster. Have you seen this poster at your workplace? It is typically located near the minimum wage poster or other regulatory notice sections for employees. If your company does not have an OSHA poster posted in a conspicuous location, advise management that one is needed and should be posted as soon as possible for employee review. In my experience, I have seen OSHA compliance officers cite employers for not having the OSHA poster hanging in the workplace. Perhaps one of the most powerful ideas behind the concept of OSHA as an agency and enforcement organization is how workers have a right to a safe and healthful workplace. This, above all, fully encapsulates the basic premise of occupational health and safety, whereby those human beings, known as employees, are able to conduct their work regularly without fear of loss of life or limb. However, this fundamental premise cannot be of value without the commitment of the employer, and in the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970, Section 5A1, clearly requires employers to commit to employee health and safety. Section 5A1 states that each employer shall furnish to each of his employees employment and a place of employment which are free from recognized hazards that are causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm to his employees. This clause is known among safety professionals as the General Duty Clause. I will share with you an important note about the General Duty Clause. That is, whenever OSHA cannot enforce a regulation or standard because the regulation or standard does not exist, OSHA will use the General Duty Clause as long as the scenario can be justified as hazardous to employees. A common example of the General Duty Clause pertains to wearing seatbelts while operating a forklift. At the time of this recording, OSHA does not have a regulation requiring that operators of a forklift wear a seatbelt, but if a seatbelt is present on the forklift, or the manufacturer of the forklift sells a seatbelt kit, OSHA will cite the employer under the General Duty Clause if employees fail to wear the seatbelt or a seatbelt kit is available. I hope this example helps you to understand how important the General Duty Clause is and how safety in the workplace requires the commitment of both employees and employers alike. The Hazard Communication Standard, known as HCS, requires chemical manufacturers, distributors, or importers to provide safety data sheets, abbreviated SDS, and formerly known as the Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS, to communicate the hazards of hazardous chemical products. As of June 1st, 2015, the Hazard Communication Standard will require new safety data sheets to be in uniform format. The new Hazard Communication Standard has incorporated the Global Harmonization System, or GHS, as the predominant method of communicating chemical hazards to employees. Because the Hazard Communication GHS system is somewhat of a drastic departure from how chemicals were communicated in the past, employers should train employees to understand the new system as soon as possible if it has not occurred already. Employee training on the elements of Hazard Communication GHS should include the physical and health hazards of the chemicals and how workers can protect themselves, which will include specific procedures the employer has implemented, such as work practices, emergency procedures, and personal protective equipment. We are simply skimming the surface of what is required under the Hazard Communication Standard, but this should serve as a sufficient starting point. I would like you now to refer to handout number 3, which outlines a very basic safety data sheet for chemical stuff. Take a look through the 16 sections of the safety data sheet, and you will see how all safety data sheets in the future are to be formatted. For example, safety section number 5 pertains to firefighting measures. Whether I have a safety data sheet for toluene or for methanol, firefighting measures will always be found in section 5. The other sections are also standardized across safety data sheets, and this should allow a trained employee to be able to quickly reference a safety data sheet when it is needed as a resource. As you look through the safety data sheet in handout number 3, ask yourself the following questions. What information does the safety data sheet provide? Have you seen the safety data sheet in your workplace? Have the instructions contained within the safety data sheet been followed in your workplace? Have you ever worked with a hazardous substance or chemical without referencing a safety data sheet? Please keep in mind that not all manufacturers of chemicals have provided and released a safety data sheet for the chemicals produced. June 1st, 2015 is the deadline whereby safety data sheets are required for use in every workplace, which means that the chemical manufacturing companies will most likely have all safety data sheets ready by then. If you are still using material safety data sheets, feel free to look through those as an additional exercise, but try to remain focused on the safety data sheets since the MSDS is getting phased out. You have now reached the end of this video presentation. This presentation has been produced by MW Consulting, LLC. Feel at liberty to contact us directly. Thank you.